Sustained. Next question, please.
Did you review Hemy's psychological records from the DeKalb County Jail?
Yes, I did.
And
what number is going to do this now?
Your Honor, I would ask to approach the witness.
You may. What exhibit number?
34 and 35.
34 and 35. Thank you.
I'm going to hand you what I've marked as Defense Exhibit 34 and 35. And then I'm going to also hand you a second set of those that are not marked.
Okay.
Are those records from the DeKalb County Jail records that you reviewed?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this point, we are offering the evidence defendants Exhibit 34 and 35. They are from the larger packet of evidence that's already been admitted.
Well, 34 and 35 will be admitted.
Thank
Any
you.
objections?
No, sir, no objections. May I publish to the jury?
You may.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, may we approach?
Oh, sure you can. Come on up. All right, you got 34 and 35 minutes. You can publish it if you wish.
Looking at Defense Exhibit 34 from the DeKalb County Jail records, what is the date of that?
It is dated February 27 of 2014.
And at that time, what was the diagnosis that the DeKalb County Jail had him under?
I object to that, Your Honor. What the diagnosis that the DeKalb County Jail had him under? First of all, I don't think that's anything this witness knows or can testify to. That's an interpretation document she never prepared, nor is the custodian for.
Is that, well, let me ask, is that written up there? I can't.
Yes, it is.
Okay, if it's written, I can't see it, and maybe it's my eyes, but it's not clear. But no, I don't mean it's just, I think I can see it, I can see it, but if it's written on here, I'll let it testify whatever's written on there. What line you just point, somebody can point on there what you just said, where is it?
Right here, at the top of the page.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm supposed to read what the document says, but if parents can't interpret what it means.
Are you saying where it says problem, that column?
Patient problems.
Okay. Well, she can read whatever is on the document she relied upon. Did you read whatever you relied upon was on that document? Please.
Okay. It states type and problem. It says type is psych, problem bipolar, bipolar disorder unspecified. Type psych, problem anxiety, anxiety state not elsewhere classified. Type psych, problem unspecified major depression, recurrent episode.
Go ahead.
At the bottom, just above the sticker, does it refer to the intake, his intake status and why he's on medication?
Your Honor, again, I object to the witness being asked to interpret the records that she didn't prepare and is not the custodian for.
Well, I'm going to sustain that objection. Now, she can read what was on there, so
Right.
let her read it if she can.
Can you read at the bottom where it says comments?
Yes. Takes mental health meds, previous attempted suicide, denies any current intent ideas at this time.
And the term current intent, is that a common psychiatric term?
It is. It
And what
means
does it mean?
it means right here and now.
I'm going to put up what is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 35. And
(2014),
And is that under admissions date?
and then under admissions date it says 8/18/2015.
And what date were you reading? Was that the admissions date you're reading? I'm just trying to...
No, Your Honor. I'm saying I'm not sure which date I'm to read because there are 3 different dates on
does
it.
it list an admissions date for the DeKalb jail?
Yes, it does.
And what's that date?
Admission date is listed as 8/18/2015.
And can you read on that document what medications he was on at that time?
Right. He was on Delproix, which is the formulaic name for Depakote, 250 milligram tablet, delayed release, given 1 tablet by mouth in the morning for 7 days. Inmate to take his own supply only, ordering provider Chung Ing. And then he was also on Delproix 500 milligram tablet. Again, it's Depakote, delayed release. Give 1 tablet by mouth at night for 7 days. Inmate to take his own supply only. Ordering provider is Chun Ing. And then he's on mirtazapine, which is the name for Remeron. And that's 15 milligram tablet. Give 1 tablet by mouth at night for 7 days. Inmate to take his own supply only. Ordering provider Chun Ing.
And do you know if he's still on those medications?
He remains on those medications, yes.
Were you also given records from the treatment provider where he was prior to coming back to the DeKalb jail in 2015?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, I would ask to approach the witness.
You may. What number is this?
This is number 36, 37, 38, and 39.
You may.
Okay.
Are those pages from the medical records that have already been admitted in this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time I would offer into evidence Exhibits 36, 37, 38, and 39 and ask to publish to the jury. They have already been admitted and are included in Defendant's Exhibit 4A.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right. 36, 37, 38, 39 may be published to the jury if you wish.
Looking at number 36, labeled at the top, page 20 of 22. Does this document refer to when they started his medication and why they started his medication?
Your Honor, again, I'm going to object to the interpretation of the document. The witness can read the document if it's in evidence. She didn't prepare it. She's not the custodian. She's not the treating physician. She can't interpret it.
It's the same. You won't have to have her read whatever you want her to read, counsel. You're going to sustain that objection.
Can you read the portion starting inmate Newman had begun?
Sure. Inmate Newman had begun Delproix 100 milligrams twice a day, and labs were therefore ordered to be done in early April. At that time, it seemed that he had an excess of sex drive and masturbator drive, and guilt level might relate to his mood disorder, as well as pressure of speech and thought, as well as sexuality were notable. Inmate Newman presented as an Orthodox Jewish white male wearing a kippah or yarmulke and made good eye contact with the examiner, was cooperative, alert, fully oriented, and memory was thoroughly intact. He had no wish to harm himself or anyone else. No evidence of psychosis was present at this time, and mood appeared euthymic and affect was congruent. It seemed likely that the Delproix has helped level the mood, and indeed he reported that sleep was good and mood was fine, as his sexual drive level was very low at this time. He reports no side effects from his Remeron or the Delproix. His Delproix level is 107 on the lab reports, which is a little high, and when marginally high, the albumin and bilirubin totals were noted. There was a history of one suicide attempt years ago with an overdose of Tylenol, but the previous bilirubin in late 2011 was not elevated. It is now 1.4, so this too will be followed. The white count is slightly low.
I'm going to put up what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit 37. This is labeled at the top, page 18 of 22. First of all, can you read the section that begins suicide attempts?
It says significant suicidal ideation behavior, question mark. Suicidal attempts in February, November, and December 2010, late December to January 2011, tried to run into a truck. 2011, attempted Darvocet overdose, tried to asphyxiate with dry ice vapor.
Can you read the next section where it begins inmate denied?
Inmate denied any treatment as a child despite reported physical and emotional abuse by the father, who was reported to be an alcoholic. Inmate reported that as an adolescent he was sent to a boarding school in Israel. During the winters he would be placed in an outside shack due to absent alternative family custody in Israel. Reported that he began to experience demons and to hear voices, began to experience episodes of poor judgment despite vocational success working for General Electric, but begun to perceive reject by spouse and employer and begun to have an affair with a subordinate. During the same time, started to see demons and hear voices described as giving commands and making denigrating comments. Reported that he had taken a trip to North Carolina to commit suicide. Inmate reported becoming manic and wanted to be on the cover of Forbes magazine. Inmate claimed that the demon told him to get involved with the married subordinate and to have a close relationship with her children. Developed belief based on claimed dark demon that the father of the children was a threat. Inmate reported proceeded to murder the husband of the mistress. Denied to Dr. Rolls at GDCP any symptoms of mania or depression on 3/19/12.
Marked as Defendant's Exhibit 38. Looking at the top where it says psychiatric diagnosis, can you read what it says under that?
Yes, it says primary diagnosis bipolar disorder not otherwise specified, and other axis 1 psychotic disorder not otherwise specified. And then it has another one, other axis 1 obsessive compulsive personality disorder.
In the next section down, when you read where it begins, MHC.
MHC. Let me just make sure, because there's two MHCs that I see.
Which one do you want to read?
The third line from the bottom.
Okay. MHC will continue to help inmate process memories and disturbing thoughts and feelings. MHC will continue to help inmate develop coping skills to help him manage depressed mood, strengths, understands detail, weaknesses, rapport with counselors due to frequent changes in counselor.
I'm going to put up what is marked as Defendant's Exhibit 39. Can you read in the last section plan?
The treatment plan will be to continue the medication unchanged, and Alproix will be left at 250 milligrams by mouth in the morning and 500 milligrams by mouth nightly. The core of treatment at this time will analytical psychotherapy, and for this reason, inmate Neuman will be seen in the mental health clinic with increased frequency, which should be in the neighborhood every 2 weeks for a time.
And then in the top section under side effects, medication compliance, can you read starting with he also he has been thinking a lot about.
Okay. He has been thinking a lot about memories of childhood that are relevant to his way of perceiving himself and interrelating with others. In particular, he has considerable insight with respect to rescuing his sister when she was raped and he was the older brother. He has now heard this from her, and this greatly affected his self-evaluation and in his way of seeing the events. Also, he has reviewed his feelings about the factors surrounding his being sent away to his home by the family. We continued to piece together what had been partly unconscious before and its role in present situation and recent events as an adult.
Dr. DeFlores, yesterday you testified that childhood trauma is correlated with mental illness and specifically bipolar disorder and psychosis. To be clear, when you talk about psychosis, what do you mean?
I'm talking about the fact that there's research that says that trauma, childhood trauma, is actually associated with a higher rate of people experiencing hallucinations later on in life. And there is research that actually has found that, specifically with bipolar disorder and hallucinations in that disorder with individuals that have been traumatized in childhood.
And in this case, is there a traumatic event or a stressful event in 2010 that was a trigger or was a key point in all of this?
Yes, there is. And it was in 2010 when Nilly died, and that was basically his mother figure. And that was very stressful. And one of the things that research has found is that stressful experiences can trigger things like hallucinations in individuals that are already at risk of developing them. So my opinion is that was that particular event was traumatic for him, and that is when he started to really think and ruminate about his earlier childhood trauma history with his family and then back in the boarding school. It was the on switch.
If Mr. Neuman were malingering, are there signs that you would expect to see to know that?
Yes, there are.
And can you give me some examples?
I think the most clear one is it's what you would expect to see and what you would expect to not see. So it's two things that I'm looking at. The most clear one to me was that when I evaluated him in 2011, he remained delusional. The delusion was present. His thinking was not logical when discussing some of the things he still believed in. So in 2011, there was still evidence, even almost a year later, that there were still some problems with him not really being fully oriented to reality. So that's one. I wouldn't expect to see that if he was malingering. Two, I am expecting to see inconsistencies. So when somebody is malingering, and I tried to corroborate data, and they align to me, I'm expecting the information that I'm following up on, the documents that I'm reviewing, the individuals that I'm interviewing, that their information, the information that I'm looking at, is not going to corroborate with what he is saying if somebody is malingering. What I'm expecting, if they're not malingering, is consistencies, which is what happened in this case. I'm also expecting that, so for example, the Georgia transcript, I specifically asked to look at his college records. I said, let me look at the college records because I want to see if, in fact, there was any change in him in his academic functioning at the time that he was reporting having had a depressive episode. And that correlated because, in fact, you do see a significant drop in his grades at that specific period of time. So that's corroborated. If he was malingering, I would have expected him, when he had those thoughts in 2011, and he was already working with an attorney then on a defense, and the possibility of a mental health defense had already been raised, I would have expected him to...
Your Honor, I'm going to object to this. This is speculation at this point and not responsive to the question that was asked, I think, 4 or 5 minutes ago.
Sustained. Next question.
Is there another fact that you used in evaluating malingering relating to his discussion with his lawyers in 2011? 2011.
Yes, he was malingering. I would have expected that he would have been telling them anything that sounded...
Again, I'm going to object to the speculation. The question is, what would she expect of this defendant? I think she can talk about what she would expect from a person who is malingering, but it's speculation to attribute motivations to this defendant.
I think she can.
Response.
I think she can testify to what she would what evidence she sees either for or against malingering, and that's specifically what she's addressing.
I'll let you ask that question.
I don't have an objection to
Yeah,
that.
if you ask that question, I'm going to sustain the objection. If you want to ask that question that you just put forth, you can answer that.
Is there specific evidence for or against malingering relating to his conversation with his doctors in 2011?
There is. He chose not to share information with his attorneys about delusions that he was still having about Rusty Sneiderman that would have helped his mental health defense at that time. And the fact that he chose not to share that is not consistent. It is the opposite of somebody trying to fake a mental illness. It would have been helpful for him to share that information with his attorney. Additionally, the way that his actual presentation in discussing the sexual activity that either took place or did not take place with Rusty Sneiderman, the way that he presented it is there was confusion. He couldn't really say sometimes whether or not it had occurred or had not occurred. And it doesn't surprise me because he was in fact not functioning in terms of reality testing at his best capacity, and so the confusion made sense. The fact that he was not pretending to not remember important details of the shooting, the fact that his memory was good. It was consistent with the records that I read. That was inconsistent with malingering. I would have expected to see the opposite. the fact that his family corroborated some of the...
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustain, rephrase.
Given all of the documents that you have reviewed, all of the recorded statements, all of the interviews, all of the records, all of the emails, do you have any doubts about your diagnosis or any concerns that Hemy Neuman could be malingering?
I object to the relevance of the witness's doubts.
She's
Certainly ask if her opinion is the same, but the strength of her opinion, whether she has doubts about opinion is relevant to anything.
Question, response.
Your Honor, I think her whether anything about her opinion has changed or has been influenced is relevant.
You can ask that, but she's objecting to you using the term having the doubts. So I'm going to sustain the portion of the question and ask about her having doubts. So you can ask that question if you want to.
Is there anything, given all of everything that you have reviewed, is there anything that would cause you to change your opinion or to think that perhaps Mr. Neuman was malingering?
No, there is not. I have not been presented with anything that would change my opinion either at that point or since then.
Now, to be clear, what did Hemy tell you about why he shot Rusty Sneiderman?
He said that he had to do it to protect the children. And he said it was not about killing Rusty, it was about protecting the children.
And did he say whether he had a choice in whether to kill Rusty Sneiderman?
No, he did not. He said it was the only thing to do. When I asked him if it was the right thing to do, he said it was the only thing to do.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
All right, you may cross-examine if you wish. What we'll do, since we're close to our first break, we're going to take a break earlier. And once we come back out of this break, the state will have an opportunity to cross-examine if they wish. You can put them back in the box in 10 minutes. All right.